This week in the Effective Executive, I want to talk about 5 keys to a successful business transformation. Now, there's a number of reasons why organizations do business transformations, but for the most part, they're looking to either increase their sales or their revenues, or they're trying to be more efficient. I like to use the word effective, but you only get that if you use my method. And so, from a standpoint of the business, you're looking to reduce expenses. I mean, it's a lifelong thing that anybody that is in business is trying to do: increase their revenues, decrease their costs. That's the aim, but it's the way you go about it. So the 5 things really starts with, for me anyway, goes back to when I first went to the W. Edwards Deming seminars back in a long time ago in the mid 80s, late 80s. And, you know, it was a very eye opening experience. But one of the things that hit home with me was Dr. Deming's famous quote, which was, "By what method?" And I've always had that in the back of my mind whenever I work with any organization, and uh, especially with some of the missteps I had as a manager early in my career, because you were often given a goal to hit, numeric, of course, and but nobody really talked about by what method would you accomplish it. You just did what you could. And oftentimes those things were damaging to the organization. So the first step, or the first key to a successful business transformation, is to have a method. And in that method, you're going to develop a vision of what you want the transformation to accomplish. But the issue is, people often start with the vision and kind of come up with something out of their brain for what they think will work. Typically, an owner, or possibly the president or CEO or some executive in the organization, and they will have something in their head, possibly from a previous organization that they worked with, or something that they've been chomping at the bit since they were an underling in the organization, saying, "I want it to be this way." And the problem there is, you need a method that will help inform that vision for what the organization should look like, and not just kind of pop it out of your head, from a individual standpoint. It has to be something that the vision everyone can uh, buy into in the organization. So, but in order to do that, and some of the other things in here will uh, kind of make this clearer. In order to develop that mission, there's certain knowledge that you need to have something out there that people will embrace, and how you go about it, especially important. And then the second thing is that the people that lead the transformation, I want to be really clear on this, need to be the people um, who are doing the work that customers value. Those are the people that lead the transformation, because they're the ones that have to make all the changes to the way that they work. It's not led by IT. And I know I came from the information technology world, and I think the world that, the sun revolves around the earth. But it shouldn't be led from there. Um, it shouldn't be led by a project manager. It shouldn't be led by a senior executive, or some of the other ancillary areas in the organization, like training. Uh, the executive's job is to remove the barriers that prevent a design from coming to fruition, that the people that create the value for customers can deliver. And there's lots of different things, and I've mentioned them over different episodes. But one thing that comes up quite often is, well, those people on the front line, they're low paid, and therefore, they don't have access to these important systems out here that they need to do their work because they're going to screw something up. They're dealing with your customers every day, so we have to kind of address that. But the job of the executive is to remove the barriers. And then, to be honest with you, it's keeping the other areas like IT and training and finance and all these areas away from them until they can develop a prototype. And the importance of this is that whatever the transformation produces will be something that the people that have to use it will have the buy-in and also have the knowledge to know how to use the system that they're building. When it's done the other way, inevitably there's going to be gaps. And some of those are damaging gaps, especially with regards to customers. And then things get to a schedule of project managers. And because it's on a schedule to be done by this date, it doesn't matter that we have gaps. We got to hit that date. So that's the second thing, is having the people on the front line that, that are doing the work that customers value, are leading the transformation. The third thing is that, for successful business transformation, you have to have a knowledge of the entire system. So in other words, you've got to have synthetic or systems thinking skills, and this should inform your design and be developed into your organization as a skill that can be leveraged moving forward. In other words, the more that someone, we always talk about the weakest link. Somebody on the front line is often looked as the weakest link. Why would we be doing this? The people that interact with your customers on a daily basis, well, they're the weak links. Wow. Okay. So we need to develop those skills with these people in order to inform executives about changes that they're seeing, on a daily basis, rather than waiting 3 months for some report to come out, so that you can react as an organization and absorb any types of changes that are going on. And a good design is developed from understanding how these pieces fit together in the organization. And the problem we have still today with the kind of old, manufacturing design would probably be a good way. The functional separation of work is that you've got your finance and you've got your HR and you've got your training and you've got your project managers and you've got your IT, and very few people have the view of how things fit together, and it's especially important for executives and people in the front line to understand how that system operates and how the pieces fit together. So that's the third thing, is how the systems thinking or synthetic thinking portion is developed in your organization, as well as informs your design that you come up with for the transformation. The fourth thing, and I kind of overemphasize this, and I was hesitant to put it as a key, but it's building a prototype to work the bugs out, to not blow up your entire system based off of some vision in somebody's head about the way it should work, as opposed to the way that it needs to work. And this is, at this point, once you have a prototype, this is where you can start to bring in IT and training and finance and different things of that sort, to understand the system, the prototype that's built. And because it's a prototype, you can still make changes before you kind of lock it in with IT. And because if it's a bad design, then, a lot of times, again, people are slaves to the schedule. I have to hit this date, and even if it's not perfect, that's okay because and then you hear perfect is the enemy of good enough, but bad is the enemy of good enough, and a lot of times you wind up with something very bad without doing the prototyping, working through some of the bugs associated with it. And there's still learning going on when you're building a prototype. So do it on a small scale. Do it as a test case as opposed to, well, we found it and roll it out to everybody. So that's the fourth thing is prototype, small scale, very important to do for business transformation. The fifth thing is that you need to design out all the customer barriers. Now, in my method, what I do is in essence take the team through a series of steps. Now, this is something you can do on your own. For $1,500, I have the executive education program that I'm building the business transformation product from, but it can still be used in that way, and I do that with a lot of executives and have done with a lot of executives. But you know it's a step, in essence, a step-by-step process. I'm not copying another organization. It's a process of learning your organization as a system, and then discovering from listening to customers what barriers exist for them to get good service. And it's it's developing certain pieces. I call it the customer creed, where you have listened to the customer, not looked at spreadsheets and all those things, but actually listening and then having an understanding and take you step by step through building that customer creed for your organization. So whoever goes through this system, this method that I have, you will come out with something different than somebody in the same industry because you're learning about your own system, not Apple's or some competitor or some organization that an executive came from. Because a lot of times, as a matter of fact, most of the time, 90% of the time plus, leveraging something from a previous organization where executive came from doesn't fit the system that they're working in today. And I see a lot of forcing based off of assumptions that those executives carry over, saying, well, that worked in the old organization, or the organization I came from, so it ought to work here. Well, it's a different system, right? So we have to understand what the customers of this system need, and design out all the barriers that are out there for customers that have to navigate what's going on, and you get extraordinarily good service by doing that. And so developing the customer creed from developing your systems thinking skills, trying them out in a prototype, having the people that actually doing the work that customers value, will then inform the first thing, which is the vision that of what it being the business transformation should look like. So that's what I wanted to cover this week, and this is part of a series that I'm putting in a playlist on business transformation. So anything I do on business transformation will go in that playlist. That's what I wanted to cover, and remember, there is always a better way.